Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Neutrally Biased podcast. And today we are going to discuss about something related to the future of humanity and ask the intriguing question if we even have a future. For long, the belief in self has been the supreme norm of the society. When liberal democracy was established for the first time in the 18th century, it gave people the right to vote. And meanwhile, it also gave the people the power to make a choice of their own, which they deemed was rightful. Hence, we ended up creating a world where the voter knows the best. When the free market offered people a variety of options to buy, it also gave them the power to undervalue or overvalue a given product according to their expectations. That is how we landed on customer is always right. It was after the post Impressionist movement in the 19th century that people gained the right to decide the meaning of the art for themselves. In the end, beauty had to lie in the eye of the beholder. When these liberal ideas emerged from the remains of oppressive aristocratic regimes, they narrowed down the bird's eye view of the belief in family and communities to the zoomed in focus to the feelings of individuals. This shift from feudalism to individualism went on to define the virtues of freedom and equality. Because liberalism believed that each individual has an inner voice that guides it. Every individual has a unique set of feelings and experiences that are equal in importance and free to be expressed. And today, most of the world is embodiment of these virtues. In fact, freedom and equality have become measures to rank countries against them. The best countries in the world are those where we find the utmost freedom for individuals implemented in the form of rights and equality to ensure everyone receives that right. Those nations that do not perfectly embody these ideas are seen as oppressive and backward. And most of the time, these measures are actually very right. Scandinavian countries that believe in equality and freedom are far more developed and happier than Syria, where these ideas are literally obliterated. But the catch about all these beautiful stories the world knits around this sense of self is that there is no self. In 1829, when Darwin came up with the famous theory of evolution, it not only changed the dynamics of how we view organisms, but disproved our grand idea of being spiritual creatures in a material body. His theory of evolution tells us that only those species survive which make it through the natural selection. And the natural selection follows three main steps. 1. Variation of a given form or template, typically by mutation or recombination. 2. Selection of the fittest variants. And 3. Heredity or retention, meaning that the features of the fit variants are retained and passed on. In other words, the only species to survive are those who choose better algorithms to adapt. So humans are not some spiritual creatures in a physical body. We are algorithmic creatures who seem to just follow the best algorithm for survival. However, this idea of organisms or algorithms did not demolish the liberal idea of an individual immediately because there was no better option back then than to make choices based on our own self beliefs, even if they were flawed. But today we stand at a point where we are witnessing two major revolutions in science that are overthrowing the norm of valuing the individual. The biotechnological revolution, which aims to upgrade our faulty algorithms to defying death, experiencing eternal bliss, and attaining divinity. In other words, creating a superhuman. It would enhance our existing consciousness and intelligence to levels we are not even aware of. And we have already covered this in our previous episode. You are not an individual. Make sure to check that out through a link in the description. And the second revolution that we are witnessing today is the AI revolution, which aims to replace our faulty algorithms with better algorithms. It would use our hyper intelligent designs and templates to make decisions for us or even for itself. And through this episode of the Neutrally Biased podcast, We will explore the AI revolution and try to join the pieces of our future, if there is one. But before we move on, if I go on to ask you, who are you, what would you say? If you are like any other sane person, you would say your name. I am this. But think about it. Are you really your name? If I say I'm Jim Gorgon, well, Jim and Gorgon are just two words made up of 9 letters in total. If I say I'm this physical structure I see in the mirror every morning, but I'm not my body, it is just a well organized flesh arranged on a skeleton. I do not refer to it as am hand, am eyes, am brain, or am body called sick this morning. I say it is my body, my hand, my brain. If I say I'm a male, that's just another way of identifying my biological features. If I say I'm my age is just a number. And the same thing applies to you as well. You are not your name, you are not your body, you are not your age, you are not your gender. If someone makes a clone of you and gives it your name, would it be you? No, right? That would be a duplicate of you, but not you. So we may even go further asking, what are you? And if you are not what you supposed you were, are you even anything? Get the answer to these mind boggling questions by buying our ebook Psychology of You for just $1 through the link in the caption. So now, let's get started. In 1936, when Alan Turing created the first modern like computer, the Turing machine, he not only laid the foundation of computing technologies, but he also became the first person in the entire universe to separate intelligence from consciousness. And intelligence and consciousness in this context means intelligence is is the ability to complete a task, while consciousness is the ability to define a task. And for years, biology made it a necessary requirement for consciousness to be embedded with intelligence for most organisms. Our conscious experience filled with thoughts, emotions, and sensations allowed us to set goals for ourselves, while our intelligent capabilities allowed us to achieve those goals. However, consciousness and intelligence are so interlinked to one another in organisms to such a great degree that we cannot really point out which function is carried out by which component. For example, my breathing is an intelligent function controlled by the brain, which changes according to external or internal stimuli. At the same time, I also have the power to control my breathing rate via conscious intervention to a limit. In fact, consciousness and intelligence can also work against each other. A person willing to suicide by jumping the building faces resistance from the body in the form of the adrenaline rush, which causes the person to shiver and contract limbs to break the fall. Now, even though the analogy for a suicide is far off stretch to explain this distinction, our conscious selves continuously prevent us from making full use of our capabilities every day. Our emotions spoil our relationships, our biases deteriorate our decision making power, and our irrationality defeats our intentions for the future. That's how we re elect the government who are corrupt, postpone the tasks we said we would do today, and ignore all the red flags just because your partner fucks you like a porn star. Now, of course, one can train oneself to make wise use of our conscious selves, but we still are humans, limited under the shadows of evolutionary mechanisms that make us humans. So, overall, we, the Homo sapiens, are not the most efficient and effective algorithms when it comes to achieving results, because in the end, we are too unpredictable to realize for ourselves. And unsurprisingly, when the electronic computer breakthrough was achieved, we subordinated many tasks that were humanly time consuming and had a broad range of human errors to these computers that were more efficient and more effective. And as the time passed, these technologies became only more advanced and took up more of a task than ever. Today, our transactions are made by e banking software, our health can be monitored by our smartwatches, our memories are contained within our smartphone apps, and even our smartphones are manufactured by robotic hands. We have submitted ourselves more to these artificial algorithms than to anyone else in the past decades. And in the evolution of these algorithms, we have created another algorithm that is as unpredictable as us, minus the consciousness, the AI. Artificial intelligence, unlike any other machine algorithm, is a machine learning algorithm that can do cognitive tasks like humans. It can learn like humans, store information like humans, and deliver outputs like humans. In other words, we have given birth to our own competitors. And currently, we are witnessing the AI revolution in two key areas: creation and calculation. When it comes to creation, we see the creative AI, or as it is called, the generative AI. It learns the pre existing information and uses it to create something new on command. Recently, with the introduction of software like ChatGPT, Midjourney AI, and 11 Labs, we can write essays, draft new emails, compose music, do a voiceover, create art, and basically exploit all the creative energy a human can have. In fact, recent breakthroughs have made AI so capable of holding conversations with humans that we're already seeing lonely men befriending AI girlfriends. And as more and more information is fed into this generative AI, the more authentic human results it would produce. So now when it comes to calculation, AI is used to learn pre-existing information to make sense of other sets of information in different contexts and prompt further actions. China is using AI cameras to keep track of its citizens and figure out criminals. Israel is using AI guns to recognize and shoot violent terrorists. Even social media algorithms recognize our search patterns and recommend content that it knows we will like. Google's DeepMind is using the calculative skills of AI to figure out the many types of changes in the DNA that may cause diseases. Now, even on a societal level, if 200,000 people from Delhi record Google searches about symptoms of flu, Google can literally declare an epidemic. So, these calculative powers of AI are tapping into the logical potential at such a pace that we ourselves may not be able to keep up to it in the coming future. The world is moving towards a future where AI will know us better than ourselves. But the only question that remains to be answered is, then what? Even though the AI would not become conscious, it would certainly be treated as a conscious entity in the future. And being an artificial conscious entity, it would do the most human thing ever, that is, create a religion. So, two techno religions will seem to be emerging out of the advancements of the AI technologies in the future: A. Techno humanism, and B. Dataism. Now, when we are discussing techno humanism, we must realize that in the future, the individual power will vanish in the face of AI, but individuals themselves will retain their value. Now, AI will replace humans from menial jobs to fighting wars, from performing life saving surgeries to extinguishing fires through AI powered drones. And almost all these existing physical and cognitive jobs will be replaced by better and faster AI algorithms. This puts us at the threat of unemployment, but I do not think that it is something to be worried about in the long term, because whenever we have lost our current jobs, the market has always created new jobs for us. When the internet came into existence, it phased the jobs of telephone operators out of existence. But was there any unemployment then? No. When cars got invented, horse keepers got out of business. But did this suffer in the long term? No. So, in fact, AI taking up jobs for us would allow us to focus on even bigger human missions, like exploring space or upgrading ourselves into superhumans. And nonetheless, this still would not be the major highlight of the algorithmic takeover. The biggest change that hyper intelligent algorithms would bring would be the demolishment of democracy. Since artificial intelligence would know about us better than us, it would also be able to make better decisions for us. And it would be at that point where we would have lost power to our own creation. Now, coming to dataism, which is another probable religion that could be created due to the advancements of AI. Now, dataism would be a weird religion which is created by the AI to serve its own functions. Now, this religion believes in the free flow of data. So it negates the value of humanism and puts supreme control and authority over information and its processing. So it requires very effective and efficient data processing systems that can process information in large amounts. Humans cannot do so and hence will serve no useful purpose. And this would prompt a artificial intelligence to create its own tools for efficient data processing, which will be way beyond our comprehension. At last, the value of feelings would be replaced by the commands of algorithms in this AI future. But note that this does not mean that AI would become conscious when it comes to dataism. It refers to the fact that AI will become so powerful that it will be required to extract all information to learn for itself. So every bit of the data would be required to be on the internet of all things, where all information would be placed on a super intelligent network. Maybe your search history or maybe the weather forecast for the next year. Everything will be accessible and available on the network. Freedom of information would override our freedom of speech and privacy. And we will be placed in the same position by the intelligent algorithms as we place other animals below us. We will not be able to understand their hyper intelligent behavior, just like elephants can never understand the difference between gross profit and net profit. And there and then would be the end of human dominated history.